What's going on YouTube? So back in 2019, Subaru returned to the three-row crossover segment with their largest model ever, the Ascent. But with many of Subaru's models getting updated recently, it was time for the Ascent to get some changes as well. This refresh model is rocking new handsome styling, greatly enhanced technology, and tons of space for the entire family. So is the biggest Subaru the best one to buy? Let's answer that question and also see how it stacks up against the competition. So let's go ahead and get this video started with the exterior design. This is probably the most obvious thing you're going to notice with this refreshed Ascent, because Subaru has made some pretty substantial adjustments up here with the front end design, which I think have made an overall large difference. So first of all, up here with your grille, this is now going to be a different shape. It's also going to be blacked out on all of the trim levels. So as you can see, we've got this nice gloss black finish, which looks really stealthy when you pair it with the entire gloss black exterior design. We do have a chrome accent though that runs across the front, but if you choose the Onyx edition, which is the sportiest version of the Ascent, that will also black out this element as well. Additionally, the lower fascia has been revised to have a little bit more of a dynamic and athletic appearance. And we also have this little accent here, which to me looks exactly like the accent on the new CR-V. Now coming over here to our lighting, Subaru has also made this more exciting for 2023. We've got this more interesting boomerang-like shape we've seen on some of the most recent Subaru models. The lighting itself is going to be full LED across all of the trim levels. You've got this daytime running light that runs through here, and the turn signal indicator will be incandescent. And then finally down here at the bottom, we do have LED fog lamps, and that will be included on the Onyx edition and above. Finally, we do have a standard 8.7-inch ground clearance. Now continuing over to the side, we see some more improvements to the design with our wheel options. So we do have standard 18-inch alloys on the base and premium models. However, everything else will come with 20-inch alloys. On the Limited and Touring, you're going to get this design, which has a nice contrast look to it. And if you choose the Onyx edition, it will be finished in a gloss black. But I do really like the way these wheels look. Now as we move up to the mirrors, you're going to notice that we do have the special satin silver finish. That's going to be a touring exclusive feature. Also touring exclusive is that we have power folding abilities. Auto dimming is also available, and if you want blind spot monitoring, you'll have to choose the premium trim level or above.
So moving on to the side of the Ascent model, we're looking at a length of 196.8 inches, which is good for the segment. It's about a few inches shorter than the longest options in the segment, but also quite a few inches longer than a few of the other options, so it's right smack in the middle. And as far as some of the design elements you're going to notice, of course, we do have the rugged black cladding going around the wheel archings. This is a Subaru after all, but for the touring duty, we have chrome door handles, chrome window surrounds, and all of the models are going to have the raised roof rails design up there at the top. Now, moving around to the rear design of the refreshed 2023 Ascent, you're going to see some design changes back here, but it's not going to be a massive change. It's not as much as what you see up in the front. So breaking down some of the design choices here, we do have a chrome piece going through the middle. This would be blacked out if you go for the Onyx model, but here on the Touring, it's a nice chrome finish that intersects between the taillights. The taillights have been slightly tweaked for 2023, so you're going to have a more squared off look to it than what you had before. It's still going to be partially LED. You have your LED accenting as well as the LED brake light portion. Incandescent turn signal, incandescent reverse light. I would have really liked to have seen them do a full LED tail light for this refresh model. And then dropping down, we do have Ascent branding, Touring branding, and then down here in the lower area, we're going to have that rugged matte black plastic down here as well. You're going to have chrome-tipped exhaust pipes, and they're actually going to be dual-tipped. So that's a nice touch that the Ascent has always had, and that's going to continue this year. We also do have a 5,000-pound tow rating for all of the models. Now, of course, you've seen it in all the Subaru ads, and of course, this is a three-row family SUV. So you want it to be safe. And Subaru knows that. So for 2023, they have updated the safety systems even more advanced than what they were before. So you have a new wide-angle camera up in the front for your eyesight safety suite, which is going to include forward emergency braking and pedestrian detection, lane keeping assist, auto high beams, as well as adaptive cruise control. That's going to be standard on every single model. Now, if you go for the Onyx Edition or higher, that will also include rear auto braking. Now, for your warranty, you're going to have your signature Subaru warranty, 3-year 36,000 miles for your basic warranty, 5-year 60,000 miles for your powertrain warranty. Well, guys, that's all for the slightly changed exterior design for this Ascent. There have been some tech updates on the inside, so let's go ahead and get into that.
So walking up to the 2023 Ascent, you will find Subaru's smart entry system on the Onyx Edition and above. And of course, to get inside the vehicle itself, just grab behind the handle, that will unlock the door, and fold the mirrors outward if equipped. So there's a quick look at the refreshed cabin, and we'll go ahead and climb inside and take a look at all the details. Now, starting off with our interior color and material choices, you do continue to have a lot of selections for the Ascent. Base and premium models will come with cloth seating. The Onyx Edition will come with StarTex leatherette. The Limited will come with real leather. And then when you step all the way up to the fully loaded touring model, that's where you'll get this genuine Napa leather. Napa leather is, of course, a really fine grade of leather, and you can certainly tell that. The seat feels very smooth, soft, and supple. I love the perforation. We do have really nice stitching details all throughout. Now, in terms of your color choices, you've got the choice between slate or Java brown for the touring trim level. Now, as we turn over to the seat controls, these are going to be 12-way power adjusting with 4-way lumbar support. We do also have a manual thigh extension up here in the front. And let's take a look at the overall material. Starting with the door trim, we've got a lot of leather all through the armrest portion with the stitching detail. You have a perforated leather that runs through the center section, more stitched leather on that section. Soft touch along the top, and then we do have faux wood accents. These are going to be exclusive to just the touring trim level. As far as the windows, one-touch auto up and down for the driver and passenger windows. And then you do have two-person memory seating that's going to be on both the Limited and the touring. Moving to the upper dashboard, this is all finished in a soft touch plastic, except for this lower section. This is going to be finished in a leatherette with stitching details once again. As we move down to the center panel here, this is where you'll find more of that very realistic looking faux wood trim. Now to start it up, put your foot on the brake and press the button. So as far as your gauge cluster, this is pretty much your typical Subaru affair. You have a mostly analog setup, but you do have a 4.2-inch multifunction display right there in the middle, and that's going to be included on all of the models. Additionally, one of the important 2023 changes is the fact that that secondary display you used to have up top on the dashboard, that's now integrated right here in the upper section of the main display. And we'll talk about this main display, of course, a little later in the video. Now, returning back over to this area, we do have a nice leather-wrapped steering wheel. This is included on all but the base model. And as far as the steering wheel itself, it is going to be manual tilt and telescoping across the trim lineup, and you'll get steering wheel heating if you choose the Onyx Edition or above. But this is a 3-row family crossover after all, so let's go ahead and check the interior storage. So we'll start out underneath the center console here. Nice size center console, looks like plenty of space. You can remove this little tray up top, and when you do, you will be greeted with this very deep bin. I also like that it's felt lined on all of the sides, which is pretty unusual for a mainstream vehicle. Let's check if it will hold the thick stack of coupons. This is getting thicker by the day, and it handles it no problem whatsoever. Now, we do have some additional storage. We got our 2 cup holders. Right here is the additional storage bin. We've got a 12-volt outlet inside of that. This is actually not a wireless phone charging pad, but one is available, so I'm assuming this is where the wireless phone charging pad would be if you option that on to any of the trim levels. And then additionally, we've got this really nice storage shelf where the passenger can stick some stuff as well. Now coming down here to the shifter, visually this is going to look the same as last year. You're just going to pull back for drive. You can bump over here to the left if you want to activate a manual mode for the continuously variable transmission, and you can control that with these paddle shifters. When you head into reverse, though, this is where you're going to see an important 2023 change, and that's the fact that you can now get a 360-degree camera system. It's standard on the Touring and available on both the Onyx Edition and the Limited trim level. As you can see, the default is just going to be the traditional view here with active trajectory, and you also have the parking sensors right there. But if you press that button, that's going to take you into the 360 view. So you've got that nice overhead for parking, and then you can also press it once again, and that's going to give you a kind of a mixed view, although it is a little bit small there on the main view. And then back behind the shifter, you will find a standard electronic parking brake. Now also in this area, you will find your 2 USB ports. And we also have another button here related to the 360 camera. I want to show this off because you do have kind of a perimeter scan function. So as you can see, it kind of just spins around the vehicle, gives you that full 3D view. In case you're, trying to park or whatnot, you've got that quick access to the button. All right, so let's start talking about this whole area here with the display. This, of course, is really the main difference. Just like with the other Subaru models, you now have an 11.6-inch large tablet-style display in place of the previous 8-inch display and separated climate control setup. Speaking of climate controls, let's start there. So, just like with the other Subaru models, you do have 3-zone climate control that's integrated inside of the display here. But you do have physical control still, so you can adjust the temperature very quickly with the physical buttons off to the side. Fan speeds and rear climate control can be adjusted inside of the display itself. And you also have quick access to both your 3-stage heated seats and your 3-stage ventilated seats. So the heated seats are standard on the premium trim level and above, so the vast majority, but the ventilated seats are Touring exclusive. And by the way, the climate control does have separate processing from the main infotainment, so that's supposed to keep it from being laggy. Now before I get into the main infotainment system, let's move up the side and come to our volume knob. So as far as the sound systems, almost every trim level will come standard with a 6-speaker sound system, except the Touring, which comes with the 792-watt, 14-speaker Harman Kardon sound system, which is also optional on some of the lower trim levels. But let's go ahead and give it a sample right now. All right, yeah, definitely very impressive sound system. I typically like the Harman Kardon sound systems, and this one is also very strong, fills up this large cabin very well. Additionally, I do want to point out one thing. If you do choose the Harman Kardon sound system, that's also going to give you a new Cabin Connect speaker system for 2023. What that basically does is have a microphone up here in the front and amplifies your voice to your rear passengers, including in the third row. All right, so let's talk infotainment. You're going to have quite a bit of upgrades to the Starlink infotainment system for 2023. One of the main ones I'm demonstrating right now, that's going to be the fact that we have wireless Android Auto and wireless Apple CarPlay abilities. And as you can tell, it does take up the majority of this display, which is certainly something that I like. When you go into things like your Google Maps, you can see a lot of different information displayed here, and the resolution looks pretty nice as well. Now if I toggle into the Subaru infotainment system itself, you'll see the tiles and stuff look pretty much the same as they did before. There's that new system I was telling you about where you can toggle that on and off. And lastly, you can press that button right there, and that gives you really quick access to a lot of your important vehicle settings. Now rising on up here, we do have an auto dimming mirror. This is actually going to be a smart camera mirror system on the touring trim level. So if you flip that switch, it's going to cut out all the rear obstructions, even if you have things piled up in the back. You also have a sunglass holder, a mirror that you can look back on your kids. And then finally up here at the very top, we've got a really nice looking panoramic sunroof, and this is going to be included on the Onyx Edition and above as standard equipment.
Now, the Ascent is a family vehicle, so the second and third rows are honestly just as important as the front area. So let's go ahead and hop into some of the features, luxury amenities that you get, etc., etc. So we're looking at 38.6 inches of legroom, 40 inches of headroom, which is very competitive figures for the segment. That's right in line with that of the vast majority of competitors, and really the headroom is quite impressive, especially for someone of my size. I'm 5'9", and this is Drew's seating position, who's 5'8". As you can see, I have plenty of space. I can also slide my seat forward and back, as well as recline it. Now, as far as some of the features are concerned, let's check these out. So in the center, we're going to have rear climate controls. That's, of course, going to be standard equipment. We have our own temperature, our own fan speeds. Down below that, you will notice that we have heated rear seats. That is going to be included on the limited and touring trim levels. If we drop below that, we have a household style outlet. We also have a USB-C, a USB-A charging variety. Then we can fold this down. That's going to give us 2 cup holders. I really like the placement of that. That's pretty nice to have that just pop-out cup holder area. And then as far as the seats themselves, you are going to have captain's chairs as standard equipment on Touring and Onyx Edition. So there's going to be those 2 trim levels. That's going to be your standard seating configuration. You can also get it optionally on other trim levels as well. Now, moving to our door trim, I want to point out that it does open about 90 degrees. I don't know if Drew will be able to see this on camera, but it opens very wide, so loading in car seats should be quite easy for those of you that have families. And then as far as the door trim itself, we do have a rear window sunshade that's going to be included on the higher end Ascent models. And then our materials are going to be soft touch plastic, perforated leather. We have some wood trim, leather armrest portion. We're also going to have a cup holder in the front part, which is nice. And then we have more cup holders down in the bottom. So if you didn't know already, I think the Subaru Ascent is famous for its 19 cup holders throughout the cabin. There are a lot of cup holders. So if you have more drinks than the Ascent has cup holders, you need to, I don't know, do something else besides drinking.
It's like you were setting up for a joke, and then there was nothing.
I know I was setting up for a joke, but I couldn't think of anything. I can't think of what. I don't even know what type of joke you could. Now, like I mentioned, the third row is also quite important for anything in this segment, so let's go ahead and check that out. In order to get back here, you just pull that little lever. That's going to allow you to slide the seat forward as well as the back. Very nice, simple way to get into the third row. I'm a big fan. All right, now hopping back here into the Ascent's third row. Let me try to get my headrest up here. We're looking at very competitive third row space figures. We're looking at 31.7 inches of legroom, a little over 36 inches of headroom, which does make it more than the Toyota Highlander if that's something you're cross-shopping with. It's right on par with Kia Telluride, Hyundai Palisade, those rivals. This seat is slid all the way back. It's also reclined a little bit. Like I mentioned, I'm 5'9", so if you're a kid, you're certainly going to have plenty of room. The thigh support is also pretty good. So this is one of the better third rows, I would say, in the segment. We got 2 more cup holders on this side, 3 cup holders on that side, and we have vents in the roof as well. Now walking up to our tailgate, if you go for an Onyx Ascent or higher, you will have a power one. So you can just press that button right there to open it up. And as far as the cargo capacity is concerned back here, we're looking at 18 cubic feet behind the third row seats, 44 cubic feet if you fold those seats down, and as a maximum, you're looking at about 76 cubic feet of cargo capacity. It is worth noting that's about a 10 cubic foot reduction in the figures from last year. I think that's just due to measurement differences. That's the official Subaru specs for this Ascent, but I don't think that the refresh would have changed the cargo capacity that much, so I'm not really exactly sure what's up with that space figure, but if it is at that 76 cubic foot range, that would make this one of the smallest offerings in the segment. It's about 10 cubic foot less than most of the rivals at that point. Now, as far as some of the features, though, let's go ahead and talk about that. For the third row itself, you do not have a power folding third row, so in order to fold it, you just grab this little strap here and push forward. That allows you to easily fold it fold it down. You can also just fold it up easily with that strap, so it's not too bad overall, but you're not going to have a power folding third row like you would on the Palisade Calligraphy. We do have a 12-volt outlet here on the left side. And then lifting up the cargo floor, we do have a space for our cargo cover, and you do also have a spare tire. There's instructions on how to get down there to that on this Ascent model. Now our passenger seat is going to be four-way power adjusting since we do have the higher end Ascent model. Then if we pop open the glove box, inside of here we are going to have a really nice felt lining. It's a very premium feeling glove box area. And as you can see, we do have our coupons in there. They fit in there perfectly fine, no problems. Today we're going to be going to Jet's Pizza. $20.99 for a super special and bread. I don't really know what a super special is, but sounds fancy. Then we have this little storage cubby up here. We also have a sun visor. We have lighting as well as a mirror integrated in. We can also detach it and extend it out.
All right, guys, so before we head out on this drive, we do want to kind of interrupt and tell you that today's specific unit is a sold unit. As you know, it's very hard to get your hands on cars these days, and Subaru is particularly difficult for us
at least in our region, yeah.
So because of that, and of course out of respect for the owner that will come and pick this up in a couple days, we won't be driving this out on this street. That being said, we are going to bring in the test drive from last year. Mechanically, nothing has changed with this refresh model, so everything we say is completely valid. The engine, transmission, all that stuff is exactly the same for 2023. So there was kind of taken off with this 2022 Subaru Ascent. The powertrain situation is going to remain the same this year. So you're going to have the same Boxer 4-cylinder engine, turbocharged of course, 260 horsepower, 277 pound-feet of torque. That is the same powertrain that's shared with the Outback XT. And you know, one of the things you'll notice is that's plenty of torque. The power is pretty well in line with the 6-cylinder competitors, the ones that do have 6 cylinders. So you're really not going to notice too much that you have that 4-cylinder on board if you're something you were concerned about.
Yeah, I will say probably the only thing that you're going to notice between those is not going to be the power. This is a very powerful motor, but you will probably notice an engine difference. You know, the V6 options are probably going to be a little bit smoother, a little bit more refined, but it's not saying that this is not refined at all. It just has a little bit more noise making it into the cabin.
And let's go ahead and talk about the other aspect of the powertrain, and that will be your transmission. So this comes in one way as well. It's going to be a continuously variable transmission. However, as you could tell when I was accelerating there, we do have the shift simulation on board. So like I was mentioning when I was talking about the shifter, you can shift manually with these paddle shifters through some simulated gear changes. If you accelerate hard, it will go ahead and do that simulation for you to give you that more realistic feel to a traditional automatic. And of course that is going to be paired with standard symmetrical all-wheel drive, because this is a Subaru after all. They're all going to have that no matter what, and you'd expect no less, especially with a vehicle 3-row like this. That was very distracting to me.
I don't know what's going on.
I don't know if the camera can see that, but
I don't know what's going on. Someone's doing a Santa dance in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Merry Christmas. All right, but let's go ahead and talk about the ride quality. You know, that's of course going to be an important part about any three-row. You know, and the Ascent does do quite a good job with this. You know, the seats, I'll start with that. That's very comfortable. I'm really enjoying how the seats ride, and this road is quite wavy, and I'm also really enjoying just how it soaks up the bumps. Really, anything in this segment is very comfortable. The Subaru Ascent delivers on what this segment expects.
I definitely like how Subaru programmed the CVT to be very responsive, especially when you first take off. Like, as I kind of get on the throttle, you know, it just really feels like I have instantaneous response. I'm not waiting on the CVT to catch up with my demand like you are in some applications of that in other vehicles.
All right, hopping back into the 2023 version, we do want to discuss a few changes. We want to update our Slam Dunk and Airball from the previous model years because, of course, this is refreshed, so we're going to have a little bit of a different Slam Dunk and Airball than before. Our Slam Dunk today easily has to be the exterior design. Well, really, I'd say just the overall 2023 updates. They really updated a lot of what they needed to. The exterior, I think this is one of the best-looking Subarus out there. They did a good job with the design of it, and I'm very happy to see this updated infotainment system to bring the technology up to where a lot of the competitors are.
Absolutely. And then on the airball side of things, it's a little bit of a nitpick, I guess you could say, but of course, as you saw in the interior section, they did add the 360 camera. That being said, it doesn't take up as much of the screen as you might expect it to. It's a little distorted looking and whatnot, so I do wish that they would have updated that to make it take up more of the display. And we also need to talk about the updated pricing. So for 2023, across most of the trim levels, you're looking at a price increase of about $2,000. So that's going to take your base price to $33,895 this year. Of course, keep in mind it does have standard all-wheel drive across all of the trim levels. When you go all the way up to the touring trim level like we have today, that's going to start at $48,195. And then today's specific example, we do have a $1,225 destination charge that brings our total to $49,420.
Well, guys, thanks so much for joining us on this in-depth review of the refreshed 2023 Subaru Ascent Touring. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, please pay us back by hitting that subscribe button down below. By doing so, you give us access to cooler cars to show you all, so it's really a feedback loop right here. And we also do have TikTok and Instagram that have other forms of media on there, so please go ahead and check those out as well. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.